Come on, man. You got Larry June in the building. You listen to the Morning Roast, and we're doing numbers, man. Good job, Morning Roast. Sock it to me. Hey. Yeah.
What up, Larry? Good job, Larry. Good job to all the roasters out there. Good job to all the roasters on YouTube, Xfinity mobile text line, Twitch. We got to put Eddie Johnson. We got the times mixed up because of daylight savings. Sam Lovin's back, by the way.
Yeah, daylight savings doesn't exist in Arizona, correct?
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, so they're like an hour ahead.
They're an hour ahead of us.
Yeah. So we got the times mixed up. So now he's on the golf course. So we'll have to catch up with Eddie another time.
Okay.
So we'll effort some guests here. You know, sometimes we'll go guest free on this show. I'll hear other shows. They got 4 guests, 5 guests, 6 guests. You know, sometimes we go guest free because we love our roasters here. Anthony and Rich, we'll get to in a second. I do have a question, though, since we don't have Eddie. And King of the Hills at 7 o'clock. I want to take Anthony and Richmond about Klay Thompson, Shasky. But I got a question when it comes to the 49ers and Arizona Cardinals. That will blow you away. Maybe not.
Well, before you get to him, I remember a conversation that Kevin Durant had regarding Klay Thompson, and I think that KD, in a way, I don't know how, but I think in a way he was jealous of Klay Thompson because Klay was allowed to do Klay things. I don't know if you remember the exact quote.
Oh, yeah. Klay is notorious for, at times, being late to practice.
Okay.
You know, getting them on time to practice and getting them just on the same page. Klay's Klay.
Yeah, okay.
He's aloof.
No, I understand that. Believe me, I understand that. But like also, when you make top dollar in any profession, in any industry, there are things that are required of you, and there are expectations that come with those things. And again, I'm not saying this is the end of the world, and everyone could say Klay is Klay, and that's part of why we love him. I understand all that. But for him to maintain his level of excellence in his profession as the sand is coming out of the hourglass, he does need to evolve to some degree. Well, Hunter Pence did this in baseball. I mean, he switched it up.
Evolve into what? Evolve into what?
Well,
when you say evolve, what is he going to evolve into?
For example, you said that he couldn't play 5-on-5, right? And clearly his cardio.
He didn't want to play 5-on-5. He did individual drills. He worked on his own game, but he didn't want to go into scrimmages with random players who were going hard at him because he thought about what happened when he was coming back from the ACL injury. And you know what? I kind of understand it.
Okay, so if Eric Armstead did that for the 49ers, we wouldn't crush him?
I wouldn't be outraged. I would get it. I'd be like, you know what? The guy doesn't want to go against full pads. He doesn't want to go 11 on 11 because of his knee. They're going to take it easy on him. I would understand that. You may crush him. I wouldn't.
I don't know about I just think that we would question it. I'm not saying that we would crush him. I'm just saying I think we would crush him. Now, Navarro Bowman's a great example, right? When Navarro Bowman came back to the Niners, he was having like a great year with that knee, and everyone kind of quietly was like, just hear me out. Everyone was like, wow, he's made 13, 14 tackles. But he's not the same. No. And it took like 7 or 8 weeks for everyone to kind of be like, God, it's a great story. We know how much this guy's gone through. We know where he's at. But he is not the same player.
Yeah, but this is different.
I'm not saying it's not.
Because we saw him come back for 32 games and then lead the team in minutes played in the playoffs.
Bowman was leading the team in tackles.
Yeah, but he was getting cooked. Klay Thompson was a much better player coming off of 2 major injuries at his profession than Navarro Bowman was at his profession. Those are facts. Navarro Bowman couldn't guard. He was no longer a 3-down linebacker.
He went to the Pro Bowl that year.
Yeah, but it's a popularity contest.
Okay,
the Pro Bowl's a popularity contest.
I think
Derek
both
Carr
of them
made the Pro Bowl a couple years ago. Mac Jones made the Pro Bowl last year. Mike Jones a Pro Bowl quarterback? Hell no.
You're hung up on performance. My thing is more just
that's what it's about.
How the game has evolved and how his game had to evolve. And then it was kind of like, if you want to stay in the league, you can't play middle linebacker anymore. You know, you're going to have to be a situational player. And he was reluctant to embrace that, and they got rid of him. I look at Klay Thompson, and I'm saying to myself, like, he's got to recalibrate himself here. He does. And I think the Warriors need to recalibrate themselves because in the cards, I thought coming out of the playoff run.
Recalibrate to what, though? I'm asking the question. You keep saying
I was hoping that he would be the 3rd best player on this team at minimum for this year. I don't think that that's going to come to fruition. I think he's going to be 4th, 5th, 6th, somewhere in that range. And I think they think they needed more. I think they need more.
But he was the 4th, 5th, 6th best player last season. And so,
at times,
he was maybe your 3rd best player. At times, he was your 5th best player. I think for this team to succeed, number one, Steph is a top dog. We know that,
of course, and Wiggins is too.
Andrew Wiggins was your most consistent player in the postseason outside of Stephen Curry. So we know that. Those are two guys. Put those to the side. Then you had Looney. One game, Looney's more impactful than Klay, Jordan Poole, and Draymond. Some games, Draymond's more impactful than Looney, Klay, and Poole.
For sure.
The facts are, we need all 6 of those guys to be clicking on the same page for this team to win.
But
the foundational 6 has to be clicking. So what's been holding this team back? The struggles of Jordan Poole, the struggles of Klay Thompson.
Yes.
Draymond's been fine. And in order for this team to succeed and get better defensively, Draymond has to be playing at a high level. Draymond, I think, is playing at a high level. So whether or not I need Klay to be the 3rd best player or the 6th best player, I need Klay Thompson to hit shots. I paid Klay Thompson to get buckets and hit shots. Right now, he's not hitting shots.
Well, if you're going to go out and bring up the money, they paid him to be one of the great two-way players in the game, but that's not coming back. That's my point. That's not coming back.
They paid him to be a two-way player back in 2019.
I understand that. And they expected him to be in shape. You know what I mean? Like, and be ready to go for the season. It's very simple to me. It boils down to this. I expect him to just be a little farther along. I expect him to be a little better and a little farther along.
I think you got to relax, man, because we said the same thing last year. And I'm not, I get the concern because you're not the only one who's concerned about Klay Thompson. But we had the same exact concern last season when he came back. It's the same exact conversation. And what happened? He got better as the season went along. And by the playoffs, nobody was worried about him. Nobody was worried. I just cited you the numbers for the playoffs. I know,
but they had a cushion and they had already kind of qualified for the playoffs as they were trying to work him back in. So I don't know, man. I just think he needs to be farther along. It's not an indictment on the dude. It's just if he's not going to be farther along and he can't do certain things, then he just needs to adjust a little.
So it's 14 games into the season.
No one's saying he's a scrub. No one's saying he's going to be banished to the bench forever.
Nobody
like it's just he just needs to be better.
No doubt. Jordan Poole has to be better.
Absolutely.
This team has to be better. But I'm looking at everybody and the panic. I just don't get the panic. You win tonight against Phoenix, you're 7-8. Right now, you're 3.5 back in the number 1 seed against the Portland Trailblazers. 14 games in. And we're panicking. I want this guy peaking by game 60, 70, 80. I don't need him peaking right now. Get back into shape, and I get it. The shot making has to be there. That's what I paid Klay Thompson to do at this stage of his career. The contract you paid him before, you're not going to get that value back. He's not a $37 million a year player. We get all that.
No.
He's not. And he's not going to be that guy anymore. But can he be a sharpshooter who scares the living daylights out of opposing defenses? I think he can be. We saw it last year coming back after a 2-year hiatus to a different league. The NBA is different now.
This pains me to say this, and I don't want to be held to this, but he more resembles, a slightly more mobile, better defending Kyle Korver than he does his old self.
Oh, my God.
Be like that. You got to be realistic here.
Oh, my God. Kyle Korver.
That's not a knock. You're taking that as a negative.
No. Kyle Korver.
You're talking about sharpshooters.
Kyle Korver could defend you.
Okay.
Kyle Korver.
I said a better defending version, but like you're taking this as a negative. Like
Kyle Korver.
But the guy
Kyle
that we
Korver
saw
couldn't
was
dribble one time.
Is Klay
Klay could at least do the 2 dribble pull up mid range, 3 dribble pull up mid range.
Well, look, if we're not you're taking this as a negative.
No, that's a knock. This is
not a knock. This is realistically assessing where he's at. Like he's not the dude you thought he was way back when. Like it's not who he is now. This isn't.
I never thought he was that guy.
No one's killing him.
I never thought he was that guy. I never thought he would be that guy before the injuries. Can he be the guy that he was last year in the regular season of the playoffs? And I think he could be that guy.
Well, last year, the guy who he was slightly erratic at times, shot hunting at times, prolific scoring.
But over the course of his career, hasn't he always sort of been erratic?
Yeah, but he's more erratic now than ever.
It's going to happen.
And he's just...
Kyle Korver, come on.
Why are you taking that as such a negative? I don't mean that as a negative.
Kyle Korver's got a borderline scrub.
A borderline. Everybody thought that he was the kind of sharpshooting piece you put around a winning team. Okay, JJ Redick-ish. Is that a bad thing? Why is that a bad thing?
JJ Redick was so inconsistent.
He's not a D guy anymore to where you could say 3 and D.
He plays a lot more. He plays a lot more defense than those 2 guys has done. And he's shown that. He showed that Friday night against Cleveland.
I did not mean that as a disrespect. I meant that as what his role is evolving into.
Let's go to Anthony in Richmond. Anthony, what's happening?
All right, good morning, fellas. I wish you both blessings to you and your family. So, Joe, and I know you don't mean this as disrespect at all, but for the last 2 or 3 weeks, everybody that's been coming down Clay Road, it is starting to, first of all, it's starting to get a little repetitive, but it's starting to become borderline disrespecting because, you have to take in consideration, the PTSD portion of what he went through. Part of the reason that he didn't want to play in the summer is because he injured himself playing against, guys in the summer. So now he has that in his head where he's like, I don't want to do that again. Bonte said his shots are flat. And anybody that watches basketball realizes, like, yeah, his shots are flat. They ended up short, which means he don't have enough lift. But you said he needs to like transition, or he needs to adapt or conform to another position. And it's like, what do you really want him to do? Like, I really do understand the shot discernment, and I really do understand that. But it's like, this is really becoming like a non-conversation, because Steve Kerr has said plenty of times, like, Thompson is starting, and that's just what it's going to be. And we need more support off the bench, more than we need Klay to be better, because Klay will get better. It's only like game 14 right now, so we got a lot of season to go. And once he get in shape, I think it'll be okay. I really do.
Well, Anthony, what I find frustrating for me sitting here, and I watch the team and love the team like you do, and I know you care about this team. What I find frustrating is that these two thoughts cannot be congruent simultaneously. We cannot crush the bench at every turn and a bunch of 21-year-olds because they're not ready, and then give miles and miles of runway for Klay Thompson and not just say, hey, he's got to be better. Like, meet me in the middle here. Like, we can't crush all these bench players and then sit here and say, well, Klay's got PTSD from, and I know that is true.
That is very
true. But also, they need him to be better. Like, we can meet in the middle.
But we all admit that. We all admit that Klay has to be better. We said that every single day.
So then
Klay
why is it piling on?
No, because you're out here saying, well, he's a slightly better version of Kyle Korver. I'm like, what?
I said his game more resembles what Kyle Korver's skill set was. Look at the skill set. Sharp shooting three-pointer, minimal lateral movement, even though he can move better than him.
Kyle Korver couldn't put the ball down for one dribble.
I mean,
Klay Thompson at least gives you the 2-dribble pull-up into the mid-range, 3-dribble pull-up into the mid-range.
Yeah, you're going like for like. I said better version.
I don't.
I think you're finding Kyle Korver triggered you, and I don't mean to do that.
I'm not triggered at all. We're just having a conversation.
Maybe a slightly worse Ray Allen. How about that? Is that better for you?
Well, even Ray at the end of his career, he was super athletic early on. At the end of his career, he was a guy that came off the bench, at times closed with Miami, but he was a perfect piece because he knew what he was. Catch and shoot, play the corner and the perimeters, and could give you a little bit of defense from time to time, but that wasn't the calling card because he was so much older.
So nobody's disagreeing with you on being better. Shot selection, we said it all season long. He's forcing it. He's shot hunting at times. He's trying to find it in one game. He's got to let the game come to him. There's no doubt. He's got to be better when it comes to shot selection. But that guy can be there. I'm just looking for the guy who was there last year. And again, leading up, I never forget the Milwaukee game on a Saturday night, man. We had the same conversation about Klay. Hell, there were question marks about whether or not Klay Thompson was going to be in the finishing lineup. And I was like, come on, man. It's Klay Thompson. He's not going to be the player he was before, but there's a good NBA player there. There's a guy who averaged 20 and 32 games back with a nice shooting percentage, 43% from the field and 38% from the three-point line. A good percentage after missing 2 seasons. He will work himself back. Nobody's triggered, though, about Klay Thompson. We all admit Klay Thompson has to be better. But so does Jordan Poole. So does the defense. So does this entire team. And you know what? The bench, they have to be better. There's no doubt. That's the problem right now, is that you only have about 6 guys who are consistent.
Of course. That's why as we talk about Wiseman, we talk about other things that are going on with this team, they're not one backup center away. To me, they're multiple pieces away. Like, I think that they need 2 role players in a trade. If we're going to talk realistic, like, I don't think DiVincenzo is good enough as a backup point guard, but I also survey the land, and I don't think there are any available backup point guards that can come and help this team right now. JaMychal Green is a position I'm open to seeing someone else play that spot and the Wiseman spot.
No, I want to see JaMychal Green play small ball 5.
Okay, we can see it for a couple weeks
and you know
before we make that assessment.
Yeah, and I
didn't like him at the 4, and I didn't like him in certain lineups. Like him and Looney out there together simultaneously. Him and Kuminga was clunky. I don't know.
You got to figure it out.
His fit is weird to me.
Or you got to do the unthinkable, which is, what do you do with James Wiseman? And you know what? I've warmed up to Jakob Poeltl. I've warmed up to him. I'm not going to lie to you guys. You are listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ, FM, and HD1 San Francisco, always live on the free Odyssey app. Download the Odyssey app and favorite 95.7 The Game for the best and most up-to-date sports coverage. And do not forget that you can also watch us every day on our YouTube and Twitch streams. Just log on and search 95.7 The Game. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel while you are there. King of the Hill in moments. Let's take one more call before King of the Hill, and then we'll get back to the Warriors. Kevin and Jai, I didn't even get the question about the Niners-Cardinals. Talk about Klay. Kevin, New Jersey, what's happening?
Kevin.
What's going on?
What's up, Kev?
Yes, I understand that you keep saying that Klay Thompson's apprehensive during the summer for not working out and doing 5-on-5s. And I understand that because he traumatized what happened with the last time he worked out having a 5-on-5. But there's ramifications for that. We all know when players get in their 30s and they miss workouts over the summer, you never get that back. You see what happened to Allen Iverson. He was averaging 26 points per game in 2007, 8. That following year, he wasn't the same player.
Yeah, he wasn't.
I didn't know where we were going
I
with
didn't know
that.
where we was going either. I think that's a perfect segue for King of the Hill. I wasn't sure where he was going. We know Klay Thompson's
So dramatic with those pauses. You thought you had
I was waiting on something, man. The
icing on the cake was coming, and I guess it never came through.
Cherry on top. Who was missing from that ice cream sundae? I guess so. King of the Hill, let's roll. Sorry about that. You could edit that. My bad.
Gather round, all ye fanatics of sports.
I was laughing. I had a skittle coming down my throat.
Time for Lord Bonte of House Hill to decree the finest 8 football teams and all the NFC. For this is King of the Hill.
Martha, you a nobody, my dude.
On 95.7 The Game.
Oh, man, a lot of fun with Klay Thompson. Big game for him tonight. Boy, he's become a topic of conversation. And you know what? And I get it. They need him to beat Klay Thompson, at least from last season. Just give me the Klay from last season.